Okay, see Lindelof videos, the distributive property. I'm going to go over just 6 problems tonight, 5 problems tonight. The last two are the most common mistakes that I see using the distributive property. But let me show you how this works, and let me show you why. So let's say you have 5 times the quantity x plus 1. So what the distributive property says you're allowed to do is to multiply this 5 in over multiplication, over addition or subtraction. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 1 is 5. So this is not a solution. This is a simplified form. There is no equal sign. We're not solving. We're simplifying, right? And this, I just want to show you why this is okay to do. So let's do 3 times 5. This is my 2-second Common Core, so forgive me. 3 times 5 is 15, right? Now this is what like you to do. Here's the 3, and I'd like you to think of two numbers that add up to 5. Okay, so you said 2 and 3. So 2 plus 3. Let's see if this is still true if I use this distributive property. 3 times 2 is 6. Go back. 3 times positive 3 is positive 9. 6 plus 9 is still 15, right? This 15 is this one. So that's not very impressive, but it does tell you arithmetically why you're allowed to do it. So then what happens is when you get to algebra, you see this kind of stuff and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Well, you do what we just looked at. We do 6 times 1 is 6. Go back to the 6. 6 times negative 5. This is a positive 6. This is a negative 5. Positive times a negative is a negative. And it's negative 30. And it's negative 30m. Be careful here. This is one of the other mistakes that I see. People will either add or subtract these numbers. This is 6, and it's not 6m's. And this is negative 30, but it is negative 30m's. So you can only combine like terms, right? They have to have the same variable raised to the same degree. And if you, as you see, 6 doesn't have a variable attached to it at all. So be careful. Go back and let's do the next one. I'm going to get through these pretty quickly. I'm going to do this, right? 3 times 4, and then I'm going to go back to the 3, and I'm going to distribute completely. So 3 times 4 is 12. Go back. 3 times positive 3. Otherwise, it's going to look like multiplication here. So 3, positive 3 times positive 3 is positive 9r, isn't it? Can't combine these two terms because 12 doesn't have any r's. This is 12 r's, and this has nothing to do with r's. So this is its simplest form. There is no equal sign, so we can't solve this. We can just simplify it. Go back here, we have negative 6 times 1, and then negative 6 times 11b. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. Negative times a negative, still a negative. Negative 66, and believe it or not, that's a b. I apologize for my terrible handwriting. That's a b, right? So this is the simplified version of that. Here is one of the mistakes I see most often, is that you get something like this and people don't know what to make of this. Remember, when you see parentheses like this, anything in front of it is assumed to be multiplication. So how do you multiply by a negative sign? Well, you assume that negative sign is a negative 1. See, it makes it a lot easier to look at, doesn't it? Negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times n is n. Right? So super important. Now, if you don't mind, let's just look at these couple of mistakes that people make. So here are the mistakes that people make most often that I can see. I see people, they want to do this subtraction here because it's right out in front. But remember, you can't, right? We have to use PEMDAS, right? We have to use order of operations. And order of operations says that we add and subtract last. And first we have to take care of multiplication. We have to take care of parentheses, exponents, and multiplication and division, right? There's nothing we can do with these parentheses here, right? They can't be solved because we don't know what m plus 6 is. So we're just going to distribute. I'm going to bring down this 3 because I can't use it yet. So I'm just going to leave it here. Now hopefully you can see this negative 2. So here's a negative 2. Negative 2 times m is negative 2m. Negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 6 is 12, right? Right, we can combine these. This m stays, but this is 3 here. So we have 3 minus 12, and 3 minus 12 is negative 9. So we have negative 2m minus 9, right? Super important. The other thing I see people do is exactly the opposite of what we just looked at. And what I see them doing is they distribute too far, right? You're just supposed to distribute to what's inside the parentheses. So we have to be really careful. So should be 2 times x, and then back to 2 times 1. We do not do 2 times 7. 7 is outside of the parentheses, right? So be careful. Only distribute in from this multiplication to inside the parentheses. 2 times x is x. 2 times 1 is 2. We bring the 7 along, so plus 7. We can combine like terms. We have no other terms of x but these. So we have 2x here, but we have a 2 and a 7. And 2 plus 7 is, of course, positive 9. All right? Hey, look, I hope this was helpful. Not really the videos that I usually do, but if it was helpful, that's terrific. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. I appreciate it.